Hi everybody, I'm Arthur. And I'm Buster. Welcome back to my podcast. If you are just joining, welcome. Today we will be talking about my 7th DVD, Arthur's Music Medley. This DVD includes Arthur Plays the Blues, Brother Can You Spare a Clarinet, and To Beat or Not to Beat. First, let's talk about Arthur Plays the Blues, which is episode 87A. This episode starts out with me on stage. I was going to perform Zuzukovsky's Concerto No. 5. Isn't that the Typhoon Concerto? It sure is. Wow, that's probably the toughest piece to play yet. Oh, it is. Anyway, while the audience worried, I played the piece. Once I finished, everyone cheered. I took a bow and gave a roast to Mrs. Cardigan, my piano teacher. Of course, this wasn't an imagination sequence. In reality, I was playing Blue Danube with Mrs. Cardigan. Then she had some news to tell me. She was retiring! I gasped. After the title card was read, I asked why Mrs. Cardigan was retiring. She said that there were other things she wants to do besides teach piano. But without her, you wouldn't be able to get into Carnegie Hall. I know. So what did she do? She said I was going to be taught by none other than Dr. Frederick Fugue, who was actually a real concert pianist. Oh. Yeah. Anyway, the scene transitions to me and Binky outside. He told me that my fingers might break from the scales he would make me do, and to watch out for the knitting needles. What does he use knitting needles for? Who knows? Anyway, the scene transitions to my dad taking me to Dr. Fugue's house. I was scared because his house was sort of creepy looking. Once he opened the door, he looked at one of my hands. By the way he looked at it, he said I played for 2.5 years. I stepped inside his house and was introduced to Giselle. His wife? No, his piano. Oh. Anyway, while the metronome was ticking to the beat, Dr. Fugue made me do scales. Your fingers didn't break, did they? No, of course not. Oh, that's good. Anyway, after the scales were played, Dr. Fugue said that I may have some talent, so he gave me a book called Bach's Two-Part Inventions to play. Gee, that must have 1,000,000 notes. That's what I thought, but in reality it has exactly 8,955 notes, so I had to practice. The thing was, I didn't. Why, Arthur? Well, because, 1, I had a whole week, and 2, the whole piece was so difficult and as well as tiring. Just looking at it made me so tired. I bet. Yeah. Anyway, instead of playing the piano, I played in the leaves with DW, played catch with Francine, and watched a game on TV. My piano lesson was in 2 days now. Dad told me to practice for 1 hour. The thing was, I couldn't concentrate. DW was making so much noise. So Dad took her to the Tibbles. After a snack, I played Bach's Two-Part Inventions in F major. Sort of. I was so tired that I fell asleep. Once the timer dinged, I woke up. The next day, I was at Dr. Fugue's house. I tried to play that Bach piece, but I was having trouble. Dr. Fugue stopped the metronome. He was angry. He asked if I practiced, but I said no. So he fired me. Fired you? How could he do that? Well, I hate to say this, but he can be very strict and difficult. Anyway, the scene transitions to me and Buster at the Sugar Bowl. I told him that it could be a long while for my parents to find a new piano teacher for me. What would I do during my free time? Well, I thought the possibilities were endless, but it turned out that's not always the case. What do you mean by that? It started raining. So, I decided to watch TV to get my mind off of the piano. But every time I changed the channel, a guy playing the piano was on the screen. The mom told me she was going to buy socks, so I went with her. The scene transitions to me waiting for Mom to be done. I went to the music store to play the piano, but the salesman told me it was not a toy. You only played 1 note, didn't you? Yeah, I did. Weird. Yeah. Anyway, the scene transitions to me at Mrs. Cardigan's house. I didn't want any cookies, though. I told her about Dr. Fugue. It turned out she knew that he was a difficult man since he fires a lot of students. Also, in order to get rehired, I had to earn his respect and play the best I could. So, the scene transitions to me practicing the piece on the piano. It wasn't perfect, though. Then the scene transitions to me walking up to Dr. Fuchs' house. I tried to play the piece again, but it was just not perfect. You must have made a lot of mistakes. Yeah, 78 to be exact. I thought I was never going to be any good no matter how hard I try. Then Dr. Fuchs gave me some gloves to keep my fingers warm. Then he told me to do some scales. And that's how the episode ends.